Hello, good evening, and welcome. Welcome, everyone, to this live telephone town hall. Thank you so much for joining us. We have just a few folks on the line right now, but we are dialing out to thousands in your area. And with that being said, I'll go through this intro a couple of times here while we allow more and more people to join the call. So if you're just answering your phone, hello and welcome. You are live on the line with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns during this live town hall, please go ahead and press 0 on your phone keypad. You can do that now or at any time during this call. Again, that's pressing 0 to submit a question. If you are participating on the web, you can type in your question there, submit that question, and I will read it over the air. And you can also press 7 to provide us with your email to receive future updates from the New Mexico DOT. And throughout this town hall, we will be sharing a lot of information for you, so feel free to get prepared early on here and grab some paper and something to write with. That information will include how to participate tonight, along with important websites and contact information that may be very useful to you. So to quickly recap here, if you are participating on the web, please go ahead, type any question you may have in the comment box. Submit that, and I will read that over the air for you. If you are listening on your phone, go ahead and press 0 to get your question in line. And if you do not feel comfortable going live with your question, just let your operator know, and I will, again, just be more than happy to read those over the air for you. Whichever is most comfortable for you, either way, press 0 to submit those. Lastly, you can also press 7 to provide the New Mexico Department of Transportation with your email address for future updates. So with that, I'd like to officially get this call started off by turning it over to tonight's facilitator, Jennifer Heyer. Jennifer, please go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Taylor. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's virtual public information meeting event hosted by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. We're excited to update you on the New Mexico 566 bridge replacement project from the Interstate 40 frontage road north to milepost 1. The bridge is over the BNSF Railroad and the Rio Puerco heading into the Church Rock community. My name is Jennifer Heyer, and I will be facilitating this meeting on behalf of the NMDOT. For those on the phone, if you would like to also watch the online video streaming, please go to bit.ly/NM566 Bridge Meeting. If you don't have immediate access to internet, it's okay. Continue to stay on the call line to hear our presentation. Keep in mind that if you are calling in and watching online at the same time, you should mute the audio on the streaming player to avoid any echo. We want to welcome our community members who are on the phone, as well as our online listeners. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Today we will be giving you an update on the design for the NMDOT's New Mexico 566 Bridge Replacement Project in Church Rock. More information, including the information presented today and contact information for the project team, is available at the NMDOT website, which is dot.state.nm.us/NMDOT projects. We'd like to take a moment to recognize our elected officials who are on the call with us this evening. I'd like to recognize Church Rock Chapter President Johnny Henry. Thank you very much for joining us. This evening we also have Pinedale Chapter Coordinator Titus Nez. Welcome. And also on the phone this evening we have Larry Joe with the Navajo Department of Transportation. Again, for those of you on the phone, if you would like to also watch the online video streaming, you can go to bit.ly/NM56 Bridge Meeting. Again, on behalf of NMDOT, my name is Jennifer Heyer, and I'll be your facilitator through this interactive discussion. There will be a question and answer session at the end of our presentation. And in order to join that conversation at any time during the presentation, you can press 0 on your telephone keypad, or for those of you online, you can type your question in the chat box underneath the presentation. If you would like to join our mailing list, press 7 on your keypad. If you don't have access to the internet and would like to request a paper copy of tonight's presentation, please feel free to call me at area code 505-878-6577. Next, I'd like to hand it over to Sandra Chavez to introduce you to our team members and the topics of discussion this evening.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Sandra Chavez, Project Development Engineer with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. The NMDOT has partnered with two engineering and environmental firms called WH Pacific and WSP for this project on New Mexico 566. I'd like to introduce our team that will be presenting this evening. You've already been introduced to Jennifer Heyer, our environmental planner with the WSP team. You will also hear from Hal Bird, project manager with WH Pacific, who will be presenting the project design to you shortly. We also have Larry Maynard, District 6 engineer, on the line with us to help answer questions as well. Everyone I just introduced will be available to answer questions after our presentation, which should be approximately 20 minutes from now. Our presentation tonight will talk about updates of the project, key objectives, review of the design, the anticipated schedule, and gathering input from the community. Finally, we will end the meeting with a question and answer to address any of your submitted questions. The presentation is expected to last about 15 to 20 minutes. So that's estimating around 6:20 p.m. We will begin our question and answer portion of the evening. I'd like to reiterate that we do want to hear from you, the community, on your concerns with the roadway or bridge, the project we are developing, or any other questions or comments you may have. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Taylor. Thank you so much, Sandra. And for those on the phone, if you would like to also watch the online video streaming, please visit bit.ly/NM566 Bridge Meeting. So again, real quick, I know everyone has that pen and paper. It's bit.ly/NM566 Bridge Meeting. So like I said, if you're on the phone and you want to also watch online, go ahead and visit that website. And we do have our first instant poll question for everyone on the line, so go ahead, get those keypads ready. We want to know, have you heard about the project before tonight, or were you able to attend the last public meeting for the project? So you can go ahead and press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. So again, voting right now, have you heard about the project before tonight, or were you able to attend the last public meeting for the project? Go ahead, press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. And I do just also want to remind participants that at any time during this presentation, you can press 0 to get any question you may have in line, or if you're participating on the web, you can submit your question there and I can read it over the air. And another reminder that you can also press 7 to provide us with your email for future updates. And right now, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Hal to share some project information slides. Hal, go ahead.
Thank you, Taylor, and hello, everyone. I would like to give you some background on the project, let you know where things stand today, and our plans going forward. First, the purpose of today's meeting is to update you on the status of the project, describe the key objectives of the project and the design, discuss the anticipated schedule for completion, and gather input from the community and public at large. The project is located on State Highway 566 in Church Rock, New Mexico, and that's about 7 miles east of downtown Gallup. The project limits begin at the intersection of Highway 566 and Highway 118. From there, it extends northward along 566, ending at the intersection of Challenger Road. Overall, the project is about 0.7 miles in length. The project has been under development since late in 2018, and a considerable amount of work has been accomplished since then. So far, we've completed a detailed scoping report, a bridge type study, environmental investigations, preliminary design, and we're now in the final design stage. Through these steps in the project development process, we've reviewed and assessed the existing conditions to determine deficient aspects of the highway. We've performed environmental investigations to identify the environmental factors that are critical to the project. We've coordinated with stakeholders, including the Church Rock and Pinedale chapters, BNSF Railroad, McKinley County, and the City of Gallup. We've analyzed future conditions and needs, and we've looked at various improvement alternatives and selected a preferred alternative for design. Based on our study of existing and future conditions, we found that replacing the existing bridge is more cost-effective than continuing to maintain it. that traffic and safety improvements are needed to address deficiencies in existing conditions and to accommodate future conditions, that pedestrian and multimodal facilities are needed to provide safe access for non-auto traffic, that most of the property adjacent to the project is Navajo lands and should be avoided, and that closing the existing bridge to traffic in order to replace it would create unnecessary hardship on the communities north of the bridge. Understanding these issues, the key objectives of the project are replace the existing bridge, address safety and traffic issues, provide pedestrian accessibility, avoid right-of-way impacts, and maintain traffic during construction. With these key objectives in mind, we're developing the project design, which is currently about 60% complete. I'd like to pause now briefly and remind you that we'll answer questions in about 10 minutes. At any time during the presentation, you can provide input by pressing 0 on your telephone or by typing in the chat box online. Now, continuing on, the main features of the design include, 1, a completely new roadway built offset to the east of the existing roadway, but within the existing right-of-way. By building the new roadway offset from the existing roadway, we can maintain traffic while the project is under construction. And by staying within the existing right-of-way, we avoid impacts to adjacent lands. 2, a new longer bridge. The new bridge will reduce maintenance needs and costs and allow for expansion of the BNSF railroad underneath. 3, a new 10-foot wide paved multi-use trail for pedestrians and bikes. This improves safety for all road users and encourages multimodal travel. And 4, a reduced speed limit. The speed limit will be reduced from 45 to 35 miles per hour within the project limits. This will also improve safety and addresses concerns that were identified by the community. Now, looking closer at the details, from Highway 118 up to the bridge, there will be a new southbound left turn lane for traffic turning east on Highway 118. There will also be a new driveway entrance to the planned Church Rock convenience store and a southbound right turn lane for traffic turning into the store. The new multi-use trail will begin on the west side at the convenience store driveway and will be separated from the roadway. The new bridge will be 376 feet long and configured in 3 spans of steel girders. The north span will be longer to allow for addition of a third railroad track and a maintenance road underneath. The bridge will have a concrete deck and fencing along the sides, which is required by the railroad. The new bridge will also include a 10-foot wide multi-use trail along the west side that is separated from traffic by a concrete barrier. Moving north of the bridge, the 10-foot wide multi-use trail will continue along the west side of the highway. It will be offset from the highway approximately 20 feet. There will also be a 10-foot wide multi-use trail on the east side of the highway, beginning at Ranger Drive and continuing up to Mercury Loop. The marked crosswalk crossing Highway 566 will be located at the intersection of Indian Village Drive. Moving further north to the end of the project, the 10-foot wide multi-use trail will continue along the west side of the highway to Challenger Road. A second marked crosswalk crossing Highway 566 will be located at the south side of the Challenger Road intersection. A northbound left turn lane will be provided for traffic turning into Red Rock Park, and a northbound right turn lane will be provided for traffic turning onto Challenger Road. The new roadway construction will end at the north side of the Challenger Road intersection. So that's the basic design for the project as it stands today. We've also prepared a brief video simulation of the design. The video shows a flyover of the project and views from various locations and angles, and is meant to give the viewer a feel for how the project will appear when completed. The video is conceptual in nature and doesn't have all of the details of the finished project, but can help you get a clearer picture of how it will fit into the surrounding landscape. And the video will be included in the project materials posted to MDOT's website. I would encourage you to check it out if you're interested in a visual rendering of the project. Now, regarding the schedule going forward, as I mentioned, we're currently about 60% complete with the design. We're scheduled to complete the design and environmental documentation late next year in 2021. We anticipate construction will begin in the middle part of 2022 and could take about 12 to 15 months to complete. However, it's really important to know that construction over the railroad is subject to the constraints of rail traffic and which could affect the overall time of completion of the construction. Now, with that, I'll hand it back to Jennifer to wrap up the presentation and introduce our Q&A process here.
Great information. Thank you, Hal. Well, now that you've heard from us, we'd like to hear from you. You can ask us a question now using your telephone keypad. Feel free to press 1, or if you are online, type your question in the chat box online. If you need more time to give us your thoughts and questions, you can feel free to email me at JENN
Yeah, so Jennifer, just while we're getting you back on the line here, I will remind everyone, yes, you can absolutely go ahead, get your questions in line. You can press 0 on your phone keypad, or you can submit those via the web, and we do have questions coming in already. Jennifer, do we have you back on the line? Alrighty, so while we're just waiting to get Jennifer back, we do have another poll question here for you. So I will go ahead and just run that really quick while we're still getting her back on the line. So with that, go ahead, get your keypads ready again here. That second poll, we do want to know how you heard about tonight's meeting. So with that, go ahead, press 1 if you heard about tonight's meeting through a mailer, press 2 for a telephone call, press 3 for the newspaper and radio, press 4 for social media, press 5 for word of mouth. So again, just voting real quick, how did you hear about tonight's meeting? Press 1 for mailer, press 2 for telephone call, press 3 for newspaper and radio. You can press 4 for social media, or 5 for word of mouth. And with that, I'm going to turn it right back to Jennifer. I believe you were given some email information there. So go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you, Taylor. Sorry about those technical difficulties. Yes, please feel free to email me at jennifer.hyre@wsp.com, or you can call me at area code 505-878-6577. We're collecting input and questions this evening and into the rest of the month, and we're asking that you provide us with any comments and questions by January 2nd to help us move the project forward. We also have more project information and the visual aids of the information presented tonight on the DOT's website, which is dot.state.nm.us/NMDOT projects. And with that, we'd like to open up the question-answer session and take our first caller.
Perfect. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And with that, yes, our first question is coming from Larry in Gallup here, and his question's on the web, so I'll just go ahead and read that. He's wondering, so the new bridge roadway is moved to the east side of the old bridge, of the old road or bridge. So that's from Larry on the web.
Great question, Larry. Hal, would you mind answering that question?
And Hal, if you're there, just make sure to take yourself off mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you for your question, Larry. Yes, the new roadway and bridge both will be moved over to the east side of the existing bridge and roadway. It will be within the highway right-of-way, within the fenced area now, so it will be on the east side. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Hale. Our next question here is coming from Joe Nez from Gallup, and Joe would rather not go live with his question. He's wondering, when will construction start and how long will it last?
That's a good question. Sandra, would you mind answering Joe's question?
Sure, Jennifer. Thank you, Joe. That's a great question. I'm sure many other community members also have the same question. We are anticipating construction for this project to begin in the summer of 2022. Right now, we're estimating construction to take approximately 2 years. Some elements of the roadway and bridge are temperature sensitive. Therefore, we're restricted to certain seasons of the year. And we also have added challenges of coordinating construction over the BNSF Railroad, which they hold another set of regulations that we must adhere to as well. A great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And next question is coming from Michael. And again, he would rather not go live here. His question is, will this construction cost me any more on my taxes? And that question is from Michael.
Great question, Michael. Larry, would you like to answer Michael's question, please?
Yes, thanks for the question, Michael. My name is Larry Maynard, the district engineer for the NMDOT. The tax revenue for this project has already been collected, and it's through gas tax, special fuels tax, and through the vehicle registration fees that are paid, and the federal funds that have already been appropriated for this project. So there will not be any additional taxes assessed for the completion of this project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. And with that, we have a live caller here. We have William on the line in downtown Gallup, live on the line with his question. William, go ahead, please.
Yes, I joined the meeting late. I'm sorry. You may have brought this up earlier. What is going to be stored at the site there at Church Rock?
That's a good question, William. Hal, would you like to take that question?
Sure. Thank you for joining the conversation tonight, William. During construction, the contractor will remove the existing pavement and bridge that's in place there now. Those items that are removed will be temporarily stored just as a matter of just stockpiling them as they can be loaded and hauled to a disposal facility. But that will be very short term. As the new construction is underway, materials such as pipe for storm drains, the new bridge materials may be stored within the right-of-way at the project site as they're being prepared for installation. But that's really it. There's no other materials outside of what's being removed and new things that are coming in, and those will all be short-term as the contractor's either removing stuff and taking it to be disposed or installing new items. So hopefully does that answer your question, William?
Yes. From the newspaper article I briefly read, I thought it said it was going to be a waste storage spot.
No, this is really a highway construction project where we're replacing the bridge there over the railroad and then reconstructing the roadway adjacent to it. But there's no permanent disposal of any waste material. It's just going to function the same way it does now. In the future, it's a highway, and that will be it. Hopefully that answers your question, Larry. Yes.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much, Hale. William, thank you so much for joining our conversation tonight. So happy to have you on the line. And I do want to remind everyone that you can go ahead and press 0 to get your question in line if you haven't already. And then if you're participating on the web, go ahead and just submit your question there so I can read that over the air for you. And then also, if you would like to provide us with your email address for future updates, you can do so by pressing 7. So with that, we do have another question coming in from Felicia, and she would rather not go live here. She's wondering, what color will the bridge be? Will it be brown like some of the interstate bridges?
That is an excellent question. Thank you so much. Hal, would you like to answer her question, please?
Sure. Thank you for that question. That's a great question, actually, and I'm looking forward to see this project completed. But right now, we don't have the color scheme determined just yet. There will be a number of components to the bridge, including the concrete that you see on top as you drive across the bridge, the barriers on each side and whatnot, and then what you see from the sides of the bridge if you happen to be off to the side of the bridge, like the steel girders and things. So the answer is we really haven't determined the color scheme yet, so I can't tell you that, but we'll work with the department's landscape architect to determine an appropriate color scheme for the area and the location that fits with the context of the landscape. So thank you for your question.
Thank you so much, Hal. Next up, we do have a question, again, coming in from Larry on the web, and he submitted 2 questions here, so I'm going to go ahead and just combine those for you. So his first question was from last community update last year. I had recommended street lights to be installed along complete new road construction. So wondering if that's going to happen. And then also, Larry wrote, I know the project/ROW is impending start of the C-store construction. How can the project work with the store owner to expedite the store construction and not stall it any longer? The community is very anxious in seeing the store go up. So both questions there from Larry.
Those are really good questions, Larry. Yes, we know that the community is very anxious to see that store go up, and that will be a good addition to the community. How would you like to answer Larry's questions?
Sure. Thank you, Larry. So first, I would start with the street lights. We did evaluate the question because I know it came up before, but we determined that street lights in this area were not something that we were going to include in the project. We are going to replace the street lights at the intersection of Red Rock Park. That's can be a busy intersection at times, and there will be lights at the intersection of Highway 118 and 566. But as far as continuous lighting through this corridor, it wasn't something that was determined to be a decision that the DOT was willing to make and include in this project. And there's a lot of factors: volume of traffic, the location, and other things that went into that. So that will not be in the project. As far as coordinating with the convenience store, we have coordinated quite a bit with the convenience store. I don't believe we're holding them up at all. We've provided design assistance or coordination with them as far as their entrance location, worked with them carefully to make sure we had our entrance, that location worked out. I think the issue now is they're just going through their permit process, which is, as I understand, is nothing unusual or inordinately long or anything there. And Larry, I don't know if you have anything to add on that, but I believe we've coordinated and worked well with the convenience store and are continuing to do so. So I don't believe we're holding them up in any way.
Yes, that's correct, Hal. Larry, we've been working very closely with the convenience store in such a way as to make sure that we don't build anything that will impede or make their project more difficult. As a matter of fact, we're actually designing the turnout for their store in inclusion with this project Then we have another project coming along on New Mexico 118 in a future project down the road. And that project also is including the design for turnout to that C-store from the New Mexico 118 side. So, and there will be lighting spaced correctly so not to impede their turnouts when we do the New Mexico 118 project from the Fire Rock all the way down to the 566 turnoff. So there's been a lot of coordination, several meetings, several phone conversations, lots of emails with the C-store, and we're hoping that that everything that we do aligns perfectly with what they have planned. And in working with their engineers, I believe it has. Thank you for the question, Larry.
Yes, thank you so much, Larry, for those questions. Great questions. And next up, we do have another question coming in from Anthony, and he would rather not go live here. Anthony's wondering, you said the bridge needs to be replaced, so is it safe to drive over?
Excellent question, Anthony. Yes, the bridge is safe to drive over, and I will let Hal elaborate on that. But yes, it is safe to drive over. Hal?
Sure. Great question, Anthony. It's, we're doing a project, and you might ask, is there a problem with the bridge now? And the answer to that is no, there is not a specific problem. The bridge is safe to drive over. However, it's getting quite old and does require some maintenance, and that's the primary reason that we're looking at replacing it. Also, I want to make you aware that the state DOT inspects all of its bridges statewide regularly, and they go through a rigorous inspection process that identifies any issues of immediate concern or long-term issues that need to be dealt with. And this bridge has no immediate issues that are problematic. It's completely safe to drive on. We are just planning for the future, knowing that the costs of maintenance begin to outweigh the cost of a new bridge at some point, and we're approaching that point, so we're planning for this construction soon. Thank you for your question. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Hal, for the answer to that. Our next question is coming from Rochelle, and her question is, the bridge crosses over the railroad. How will you protect pedestrians crossing over by foot from accessing the trains below?
Good question, Rochelle. Very good question. How would you like to answer that question?
Sure. Thank you, Rochelle. Yes, we've definitely made accommodations for pedestrians during construction. We know now that there's no defined walkway, but that people do use the bridge and walk on the shoulder of the roadway. So we've, in our detouring plan, as we've, are planning for the construction, we have defined a walkway along the side of the bridge. We've also included some temporary fencing because if you've walked across that bridge, you know that the railing is not real high. So we've included some temporary fencing, and we're also including a concrete barrier to separate pedestrians and traffic. So we are providing a pedestrian pathway during construction that will be safe and a designated path for folks to walk on. So yes, thank you for your question, Rochelle.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you again, Hal. Our next question, we do have a live caller here. We have Carl on the line in Gallup. Carl, welcome to our call. Please go ahead with your question.
I know that Highway 566 goes north and south, and that the river and the river goes under the bridge. Is there going to be a way that livestock or horseback riders can get from east to west or west to east under the bridge or across the bridge? I know there's a pavement at Challenger Road with a crosswalk. What about east to west livestock, horseback, pedestrians?
That's a good question, Carl. As Hal mentioned, there will be a pedestrian pathway. how can you maybe speak a little bit more to the details of the pathway that obviously is going north-south, but then also the ability for crossing underneath the bridge from east to west?
Sure, Sandra or Jennifer. Yes, and thank you for your question, Carl. It's that's one that we haven't heard before, so this is a good one. There are 2 pedestrian crosswalks that we're going to put in with signs, warning signs, and crosswalk markings, and that would it wouldn't preclude riders of horses or other vehicles to cross there, but it's not specifically set up for horses directly. But under the bridge, I can say this, that the railroad right-of-way takes up most of the area under the bridge. However, there is area south of the railroad that is Navajo land. It's not state-owned land, and it's not railroad property. So there is a pathway under that. It is on Navajo land, and it crosses east to west. It would be on the south side of the arroyo or the Rio Puerco there. And it really would, at least in my view, it would be a place where you could go without interacting with traffic at all. So that would be the place to do that, south of the arroyo and under the bridge. Thank you for your question, Carl.
Great. Thank you so much, Carl. So glad to hear your voice, and thank you for joining us tonight. Our next question here is coming from Maria in Church Rock, and Maria's wondering, will the NMDOT give preference to Native-owned businesses when selecting a construction contractor? And that question is from Maria, who would rather not go live.
This is Larry. Would you like for me to answer that question?
Yes, please.
Yes. Well, the New Mexico Department of Transportation, when we utilize federal funds or state funds, we have procurement laws which require us to put the project out to bid, and contractors bid on the contract plans that we put together. They bid, and the lowest bidder, whether it's Native American or not, are selected to do the bidding or to do the contract work. And then upon that, there is a Native American preference in the contract for the contractor who is selected to build this project to utilize Native American preference up to a certain percentage. We haven't done the contract yet, so I'm not sure what percentage that will be on this job. But that contractor will then seek qualified and experienced workers to hire, and they may be vendors, they may be suppliers, they may be subcontractors, and they will seek Native American preference on their hiring for this job under the requirements of the contract. Thank you. Very good question.
Thank you so much, Larry, for answering that for us. Our next question, we have Judy live on the line here in Standing Rock. Judy, go ahead with your question, please. Judy, if you're there live on the line, you maybe just have us on mute. Go ahead with your question.
I was talking about stabilization of underneath the bridge. I know right now it's just dirt piled up, but will they kind of beautify that area underneath, or is it going to stay the same? Are they going to reseed it? Are they going to maybe staircase it up like you see these washes in Albuquerque? They look nice. And then I wanted also to see if we could get some solar lighting on the bridge. And I don't know how much that would cost, but the the gentleman before said that that wasn't in the plans, but there is a lot of foot traffic, and I've traveled that road, and you can't see them at night. So, you know, for the safety of the pedestrians and us, you know, I think we need some lighting under there. I mean, on the bridge.
Those are great questions, Judy. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for asking these questions. Sandra, could you speak to some of her questions?
Sure, Jennifer. Thank you for your question and your concern, Judy. We will be revegetating with native species around and under the bridge after construction. We will not have any formal landscaping in that area for a couple of reasons. That is an active wash, or when it rains, that area does see large flows. And another reason is the railroad right-of-way. We're restricted, not allowed to do any kind of formal landscaping within the railroad right-of-way. As for the lighting, we have evaluated the lighting throughout this project. As Hal mentioned, we do have lighting at the intersections and then at the Red Rock Park entrance. We can definitely take a second look at that and see if that's something we can add to the project, or perhaps come in with a second project later on to add lighting, if that's something that the Navajo Nation is willing to take on. But that's a very good concern. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandra, for the answer. Thank you, Judy. So glad to have you also on the line with us tonight. Our next question here is coming from Daisy, who would rather not go live. And Daisy's wondering, how are you engaging with the chapter houses?
Good question, Daisy. Thank you. Yeah, the chapter houses in the area, the Church Rock Chapter House, that is where we had our public meeting back in 2019. And in preparation of that meeting and kicking off the project, we reached out and talked with the Church Rock Chapter House. We had a stakeholder meeting with those and BNS Railroad and others in the area. In addition, when we had that public meeting, we met and had reached out to the other area chapter houses. At that particular meeting for the public, the Pinedale Chapter House asked for an additional meeting, and we then we hosted a meeting specifically at Pinedale. And since we had those public meetings, we've continued to provide updates to both of those chapter houses via phone and email. In addition, we had Larry Joe with Navajo DOT present at one of the regular chapter house meetings that was held at the Church Rock Chapter House. And in preparation for this meeting and periodic updates, we've been communicating with the chapter houses so that way they're aware of where our process is. Good question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. And yes, thank you, Daisy, for that question. Our next question here is coming from Matthew, and Matthew would also rather not go live. His question is, will construction require the bridge to be completely shut down?
Good question. Sandra, would you like to answer that question?
Sure, Jennifer. Thank you for your question. And the bridge will, for the most part, not be shut down. We have designed it in order to keep traffic flowing one way in each direction. There will be times when girders will be placed that we'll need to either halt traffic momentarily for the safety of the public, but for the majority of the construction, the bridge will be open. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Yes, and our next question here is coming from Anna, and Anna is wondering, I heard the NMDOT is working on another bridge replacement project along New Mexico 566. Is this the same project?
Good question. It is a different project, and I am going to let Larry answer that question on whether or not this is the same project or a different one. Larry?
Yes, that's a very good question. Thank you. As we do when we're working on projects throughout the NMDOT, we try to use a corridor approach and complete all of the safety improvements and roadway improvements and geometric improvements for an entire corridor. 566 is in line to get this bridge replacement in the next 2 to 3 years completion, and we're already beginning to start looking for a design for the next bridge, which is about 7 miles down the road, and that project will be in line to get designed and constructed in the future as well. But it's not the same project as this, but it will be part of the corridor improvements for New Mexico 566. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much, Larry, for the answer to that. Next up, we have a question from Bernice on the web. And Bernice is wondering, will there be a walkway for the walking pedestrians using or crossing over the bridge?
Great question, Bernice. How would you like to elaborate on that one?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Bernice. And yes, the answer is yes. There will definitely be a walkway. We are constructing a 10-foot wide walkway that will be on the west side of the bridge. This will be exclusively for the use of pedestrians and bicyclists and anyone other than motorized traffic. It will be separated from motor traffic or the roadway by a concrete barrier. So it will be a safe walkway that you can take over the bridge, get across the railroad track without having to run across the railroad track. So yes, and that was one of the key objectives of the project, is to make that safe pedestrian crossing over the bridge. So thank you for your question, Bernice. Very good question.
Yes, thank you, Bernice, for participating over the web there tonight. Our next question here is coming from Haley, and she's also on the web here. She's wondering, when will the convenience store open?
Great question. Larry, I think you might have some information on when we think the convenience store might open.
It is a good question, and unfortunately, I am not the person to answer that. They have investors, and they have financing, and they have contractors and their own construction means for building the C-store, and it basically is 100% unrelated to NMDOT or anything that we have. All we have from the C-store is a layout of where they would like their entrances placed, and we've coordinated with two different design teams, one for the New Mexico 118 project and one for the New Mexico 566 bridge project, to ensure that our designs incorporate their turnouts. However, when they plan on building their store and opening their store is not within our purview of knowing, and they haven't divulged that to us. But we're excited about it too. It's just another economic development in the area that we know will benefit the communities, and that's what we do, is serve the public. So good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Larry, for answering that for us. It looks like we do have another question here from Cody, and before we get to his question, I do just want to remind everyone on the line real quickly here that if you want to receive any future updates about this project, go ahead and press 7 now. You can go ahead and give your email and go ahead and start receiving those updates there. So with that, we do have Cody here, and his question is, parts of NM 566 are outdated with bumps, cracks, and other issues. How are you ensuring that the new bridge doesn't have any of these issues? And that's from Cody.
Great question, Cody. Hal, would you be able to speak to that?
Sure. Thank you, Cody, for calling in tonight and asking that. The new construction on this highway is going to be very tightly controlled by the DOT's specifications for construction. And so this new construction will be a smooth roadway, a smooth bridge, and I can vouch for that. The smoothness specifications are very tight, and the contractor gets payment is based on the smoothness of the road, so they have an incentive to make this very smooth. In the long term, we all know that that pavement and concrete and asphalt and things like that do break down and do require maintenance. And so the DOT will be continuing to maintain this project, but by installing the new roadway and new bridge, we should be having, at least for the next 10 years, a good smooth roadway. And then after that, we'll be maintaining the roadway like we do all highways in New Mexico. So thank you for your question, Cody. Appreciate that. Great.
Thank you, Hal. As a reminder for our listeners online and on the phone, if you have any questions or comments or need ways to access our project information, you can feel free to call me at area code 505-878-6577, or you can email me at jennifer.hyre@wsp.com. We recognize that this is a difficult time for all of us and are sensitive to the burdens on the Navajo Nation due to the current health crisis. We are so grateful to have the ability to offer a safe way to meet with you this evening and work towards advancing this project. We wish to thank all of the community members who joined us tonight. Thank you very much. Please stay safe.
Yes, truly, thank you all so much for joining us. And we do want to invite you to just go ahead, stay on the line until the very end of this call. If you would like to leave us a voicemail message, if you still had any questions, comments, or concerns also, just go ahead, simply follow the prompts to do so, and a member of our team will reach back out to you. And we hope everyone has a great rest of their night, and stay well.